All right, thanks everyone for joining. We've got a big group here and we don't want to go over time. Just again, apologies for the technical troubles we had. We appreciate you joining today. This is going to be recorded and we're going to post it on YouTube and we'll send a link to everyone through Luma. My name is Salim Darcy and I'm the founder of Managemate. We've been helping condo boards and managers for about 4 years now in Ontario, and we actually have a condo in Mexico and BC, British Columbia as well. Joining me today as a presenter is Jean. Jean, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi everyone, and welcome. I'm Jean, lead product manager here at Managemate. I've been working with Celine and Jessica for almost 4 years now, and today I'll be monitoring the Q&A section, and we'll be helping Celine during the presentation. I'm really glad to have you all here today, and thank you.
So today, this is a CMRAO accredited program. So we're going to submit the attendee list to the CMRAO so that anyone who is a licensed manager in Ontario will be able to get that credit. I am not a manager myself. We are taking this topic and looking at it from a technology perspective. We help managers and boards and management teams with inspections. And so through that, we've learned a lot about inspection workflows, but we also would like to learn from you today and would like you to learn from each other. So feel free to use the chat and the Q&A, and Jean will be monitoring that. We might hold questions until the end, but we will try and get to all the questions. We will leave time for that as well. So what we're going to do is talk a little bit about the operational workflow that is an inspection. What we've found in the industry is that inspections often get treated as a work product that results in a PDF report, a report of all the issues that were found during an inspection. Sometimes that also results in letters being written to owners of their units if the issue relates to something that they need to resolve within their unit. That might be due to a rule or a common element issue. So that is an important part of the inspection workflow, but that's really one part of a much longer process. An inspection workflow starts before you arrive at a property, and it doesn't end until all the issues are tracked, resolved, and reported on. So if there's a handoff in any of that workflow, that causes issues. And the big issues we see in the industry are the follow through. This is on the repairs or resolution to an issue that's captured during an inspection. That can get fragmented. Leadership. When we say leadership here, we mean board leadership or management company leadership, regional managers, supervisors, management company owners, or board presidents. When leadership lose visibility in how an issue is being tracked and resolved, that's a problem as well. And we all know managers don't have enough time in their days to, get everything done. It's really challenging. And so we also see time being lost to process that is very manual, where it could be more automated. So today we're going to walk through that inspection workflow and we're going to frame it as well and show you how it works in Managemate. But Managemate is not the focus of this session. It's an educational session about an end-to-end inspection workflow. So there are different types of inspections that happen at condos. We're proposing that there be a standardized process for these different situations. This takes away the guesswork and leads to more consistent results over time. So what are the types of inspections that we're familiar with and that occur across the industry? So there are spring and seasonal walkarounds. It's spring right now. This is probably happening at quite a lot of properties in the region. And this is to ensure regular upkeep. You want to have maintenance that is performed. Rules should be followed. This sustains the value of the condo and prevents larger expenses by addressing smaller issues before they become larger. Just on the top right, in-suite common element inspections. There are a lot of common elements in suites. It depends on the type of property, townhome or high rise or everything in between. But you might have balconies. You might have, well, the windows may be common elements as well. Sometimes the fan coils that are used in the HVAC systems, these are common elements as well. Entry doors, exhaust vents. These things may or may not be included in a spring inspection, so sometimes they're conducted at a different time of year. On the bottom left, you can see that there's a list for reserve fund project issues and deficiencies. Whenever there's a large project at a property, a manager is typically tasked with reviewing the status of that project, especially after completion. Engineers are involved too. They perform contract administration to check that the general contractor finished the work, but managers are often involved. So reviewing that work and making sure that those issues are tracked to completion. That's a type of inspection as well. And then, of course, when you get a complaint or an incident from an owner, a resident, or something happens, a security issue happens, you have to gather information about that situation and share what results over time. That's a type of inspection as well. So we propose that these are repeatable operational workflows that can provide better results over time if treated in a repeatable fashion as a full workflow. So in the workflow we're walking through today, there are 7 steps, but it's one connected flow. Okay, so we're going to talk about each step individually. We're going to go from capture. This is identifying the issue. We're going to talk about how we organize that issue, how we report on it. That's the inspection report that's generated. Okay. Then there's discussion as a team with the board and a decision on how to action that item. Then we're going to see that you can, depending on if you have a vendor involved, you might need a quote, or you might just need your team to execute on that issue. We're going to see how you then track the work to completion once it's scheduled. And then we're going to talk about actually marking that item as completed and sharing that as well in another report. So every step depends on the one before it. And it's a handoff, but imagine you have many issues in an inspection. Each one is at a different stage. So it's really important to understand the flow and use the same flow for all of these issues that are found during an inspection. Step 1, this is the capture stage. Basically, you're likely doing this on site, and you're likely doing it with a mobile phone, ideally. Sometimes you'll do it with a pen and paper. You might have a clipboard, you might have an app. Often these days it's done on mobile phones. And so you want to be able to use a tool that is fast enough so that you can get that inspection done in the time you have as a manager. And so you're looking for things like phone-friendly capture, okay? Ideally, something that allows you to write a note on that image, or at least near the image. Look, our mobile phones, they can be expensive, they can be bloated with apps. And so are you using your personal phone? Probably. And if you are, do you have enough storage space for that? You want to try and find a technique for capturing issues that doesn't create unnecessary bloat or use up too much storage on your phone, because that affects your use of the phone in other situations. You want to be able to capture issues quickly, really quickly, because you don't want to spend 5 hours at a property. You might want to spend 30 minutes or an hour. And so you need no distractions. You want to eliminate any extra clicks. And ideally, you want to do it all on site, and you don't want to have to go back to the office and do cleanup. So quick issue creation is very important for that capture stage. Many managers manage multiple properties. These are portfolio managers, and you want to be able to switch context really easily and ideally use the same workflow across your properties. And so you need to be able to accommodate that. And your phones can compress images, but they don't necessarily make it easy for you to do that. So you want to find a way to capture an issue with good enough resolution, but in a way that can still minimize the amount of space that there might be on your phone. But also, if you upload it to an app, you want to minimize your data use so you're not using your own personal data and using it all up during an inspection. You might be in an area where there's low data coverage as well. And so you need a tool that works throughout a variety of circumstances. How we do this at Managemate, just as one example, is we have a clean interface that you can launch. We call it an issue capture screen, and it allows you to capture the issue name. Okay, that's the required field. A description is optional. You can add tags to basically topically organize this item. I'll talk about that in a moment. And then you see two buttons. You can use your camera in real time and take a picture. You can add multiple pictures to an issue, or you can select a photo from your gallery if you've taken it at a different time. Step two is really intertwined with step one, but we separate it out to just really focus on it. You want to organize that issue you captured. This is really important because, again, the end goal is not the inspection report. The end goal is tracking the work to completion. And in order to do that in a very streamlined manner, it's really important to capture context. So what kind of context are we looking at here? So location. Is the issue related to a unit? Maybe it's an entry door issue. Maybe it's a landscaping issue. Maybe it has to do with a tree that's next to a unit. You want to identify that so you can group issues later together and review those that are common to that location. Assets and common elements. What do we mean by that? So a common element is a fairly common term, at least among board members and managers. It's a lobby, it's a gym, it's a pool, it's a rooftop, it's a park. Um, there are a lot of common elements, and you can organize your issues by common element. An asset is like mechanical equipment. You have one or maybe six boilers if it's a high rise or a mid rise. You might have three elevators. So you can also organize your issues by asset. You can, organize things by date and time. You can take context by adding more of a description, like what do you visually see that might not be in a picture. You can star a photo, ideally. There might be six photos you took of the, roof issue, but one might be the one that you want to focus on when directors are reviewing that in your report. And I mentioned tags, it's a terminology we use, but it allows you to flexibly add context without being limited to a certain kind of number of options in terms of how you label or topically identify your issue. This is an example in Managemate of how we tackle this step. So here you can see there's a fairly clean screen. It says spring inspection at the top. This is the issue capture screen in Managemate on our app. And you can see that the damaged fence issue, there's a short description. There's three labels. We call those tags. One indicates that the issue relates to a common element. It's the fencing. Okay. The next tag says unit 501. It means this is near 501 or within the common elements of 501. And then we also add a general tag, commercial plaza. There's a commercial plaza you can't see in this fictitious picture behind that, snow accumulated in their parking lot, was pushed up against their fence, and it caused the fence to fall over. So that context is relevant and should be able to be easily captured and organized on site. Step three in the workflow. Now you've taken the pictures, you've captured your issues, and you've organized them. You want to generate a board ready report. This could even be a report you send up to your management company leadership, depending on the property, or maybe it goes to your regional manager. So there are aspects of these reports that make them very critical. It's not the end result of the whole workflow, but it is an important step. The reports function as point-in-time records of what happened. You know, what work did the manager do to identify these issues? What information does the board need at that time, or what information were they provided about an issue so that they can later say they, did their due diligence. They met their fiduciary duty. They got this report. We had good decisions. So it has this risk management or liability aspect to it, where it protects everyone from liability if you have a nice, clear report. On the top right, we mentioned professional layout. This one is an obvious one. I'm sure everyone tries to have a professional layout in their reports, but you want to get to that point without manual formatting. That's a waste of time. And so find a tool that allows you to create a professional report without having to format really anything. The report needs to be editable. You should be able to make updates in it, not, kind of be static and then have to just add comments after the fact or add more information in an email. That's not very helpful. An editable report allows you to correct your mistakes, add more context without starting from scratch. And in a report, you don't really want it to be static, meaning you have a picture, but can you zoom into the picture? Well, you want to be able to link to that source material, meaning ideally it's interactive. You click on it, you can see a zoomed in, picture of that issue. Or you can look at the status of that issue, because the report, again, is a point in time, typically generated into a PDF. But you want to then later, if you're looking at that inspection, well, what's the status of this issue? You should be able to go find that with a link. So you know, an inspection, it's not just a record, right? It should be an interactive document. So in Managemate, we allow managers and boards to, when they're looking at their inspection, this is on the mobile app looking at a spring inspection activity in your calendar, you can click on Inspection Report PDF. Then you get a couple options. You can write the report name, and then you hit Generate Report, and that's it. We generate the report in the back end, and we send you an email notification once the report is ready, and we save it in your Managemate account. This is an example of a report. You can tell it's branded at the top with our fictitious Stingray property management company in our demo account. The name of our demo account is Bayside Village Condo. And you can see there's a list of issues, and then we start providing the images. And this is the information all captured from the issue capture panel that I mentioned. You can even see the links to tags, and you can click to enlarge the view of the image. All right, so you've done the report. Now you are in a board meeting discussing this with your board. So each issue will get discussed, or at least most of them will, the ones that are material, and most will get actioned. Okay, the next step is you schedule the work to be done. So when you have an issue, and we'll go into a bit more detail on this on the next slide, but there's different options. Some things need more investigation. Maybe more information came to light, the issue is captured fairly quickly, the manager has to go back, or a contractor has to come and go investigate. Okay, you might defer an issue. You might bundle issues together that are on related topics. You might ask your superintendent or your front desk security guard or your cleaner to address the issue. You might even assign it back to or in a compliance letter or a compliance notice, ask the unit owner to address that issue. You might have a designated vendor. What we mean by a designated vendor, it's someone, your go-to plumber, your go-to HVAC company. You don't necessarily need a quote for them. You just say, can you please fix this? Or let us know what this might be in an informal manner. If it's a bigger item, you might need more quotes. And so this is where, these are ultimately tasks that are created. But when anyone picks up that report, they need to know what happened to this work. And so being able to document your decisions and action that work is super critical. On this slide, we just dig in a little more to some of those options on how these issues are addressed. So some issues, they fast track, you close them quickly. Maybe, it's changing a light bulb, something simple, it's done, okay? Some need a quote, you need to provide the scope to the vendors, and we'll talk more about that a little bit more. Some are just deferred, it's not a priority, it's just a bit of an eyesore. We don't have budget for it. Let's just park it for now. Okay. And then you might even actually find that you find issues that maybe you can bundle together in a reserve fund project. Enough windows have been damaged. Maybe we need to do a complete window replacement or a window wall replacement because there's too many leaks that we've identified. So there's going to be a lot of paths, and your workflow has to accommodate that without losing track of any of them. How we do it in Managemate is we allow you to take an issue that you captured that was in an inspection report and action it. Actioning it means creating one or more tasks for one or more issues. And so should be a quick thing you're able to do. Here we're allow you to do it quite quickly, and you can see it creates, in this case, they're unscheduled, but just a few tasks coming from the report we were using as examples for this account. Okay, step 5. You've decided on what to do. Now, for some of these items, not all of them, you will need to engage a vendor. This might be a designated vendor. Again, what we mean by that is a vendor that, is not necessarily under contract, but they're your go-to plumber, for an example, or your landscaping company. You just typically hire them because they do good work and the prices are reasonable. You don't necessarily need a quote from them. In other cases, you will need a quote. Either way, you need to share context and details of what needs to be done to address the fallen tree or the broken fence or the broken window. So the vendor needs the scope. So they need to either have that to provide the quote or just to get the work done. You need a lot of clarity there. And this is often where you will have to copy and paste in traditional systems from your inspection report or from your phone. You share that to your email app, you write a new email, you have to rewrite things again that you had in your report, or you send your whole report and you say, see items 3, 7, and 9. These aren't really, the vendor has to then do the work, which might be okay, but it can be a bit challenging for them. So you want to attach photos. That's key context as well. Maybe they don't need a site visit just to get a better sense. They can schedule it and they know what needs to be done. Ideally, multiple photos. And ideally, you might even share with them some building drawings. You might give them more context for that issue. You want to be able to do that. You want to be able to group related issues together, okay? And an important thing, especially for admin work on the management side, is you need a clear path to a purchase order without double entry. And that's the gold standard. And this requires some integration with your accounting tools, ideally. If you can take the issue from identification to PO and track the approvals you got in the meantime, and you send that PO to your designated vendor, that's a really smooth process if you can do that without any double entry. Okay. What I'm going to show you here is recently we've now integrated with Spark Pro in the sense that from Managemate, you can take an issue and send it to Spark Pro. Spark Pro, for those of you who aren't familiar with Spark Pay, the company, it's a third party to us. They do electronic payments to vendors, and they have a Spark Pro system now that allows management team to manage purchase orders in addition to the payments that go to the vendors. And so what we've done, it's not a full integration in the sense that we just package the information that was gathered by the manager with that issue capture panel, and we forward it off to Spark Pro so it automatically creates a request in their system. It saves the manager the double entry time that would otherwise be required. Interestingly, we can also copy the manager currently. And so the manager now gets an email with the basic information, images attached. They didn't have to type this out. And they can forward this on to their vendor of choice, their designated vendor, or to 3 vendors to get quotes. So we reduce some of that double entry by taking the information that they captured on their phone and creating the email for them, which they can forward. And so we're looking to improve this process, and it's already eliminated some of that double entry. So this is important for the workflows that you use as well. Step 6. Okay, so vendors engaged. Now you're waiting for the work to get done. You're waiting for updates from the vendor. Your boards are asking you, your directors are asking you, I still see that, tree is there. What's happening with that? You want to be able to provide status updates on the work in the days or weeks between when the vendor's engaged or your staff is engaged and when the work gets completed. It's not going to happen overnight. We all know that. So, contractor calls in sick. Oh, I can't come tomorrow as planned. I need to come next week because I'm not feeling well, or we didn't get the materials in time, or we don't have capacity. These updates, the manager gets all the updates, but how do you provide visibility into that to your boards and your leadership? It's very difficult because you're not going to send an email every time. So being able to provide updates, though, is super important for visibility and workflow tracking. Ideally, in our view, the you want to work asynchronously with your team because not everyone is going to be at their desk waiting for the update when you send them an email. And so emails aren't a great way to provide updates because it buries people in emails and they don't see it, and then they'll knock on your door asking you for updates every day. So these updates are key for when you have board meetings. And so the progress of your work as you go between meetings towards a board meeting to your next meeting, this should just get captured in your management report, again, without double entry. So the way to track progress is about not losing visibility after the decision is made. And this is where workflows really, fail often. And so it's important to try and, solidify your workflow by being able to track and provide updates. So in Managemate, the way we accommodate this is we allow a manager to add, we call it logging an update. A manager logs an update in our system, and they optionally send that immediately to the board if it's urgent, or what happens is they can just be assured that all the updates that they enter in will be shared automatically with the board in what we refer to as an email digest. Okay, this is a snapshot of an email digest. It shows a status update that a manager shared that day. We have daily digests and weekly digests because we're trying to facilitate asynchronous updates so that boards can rely on that update without having to hang out outside the manager's door. But the managers also get the benefit of being able to share all their hard work and progress without having to inundate the other side with emails. No one likes more emails. And so what happens is updates just aren't shared. And so here in the system, you can rest assured that you can update as many times as you want, and you're not going to keep getting a lot of emails. We consolidate the updates into one email. We also allow the management report, and we actually have a management report generator. All of the updates provided during a reporting period are automatically added to the management report in a section that makes sense for that issue. So this is just a screenshot of the cover of a management report that our system will generate. And here's a snapshot of what it looks like for one section. So you can customize these sections, but say this is items for board information. The updates, which are kind of the dark black text in the middle, we realized that this leak was due to ice damming. That's the update. We take the updates over that reporting period and we share them with the board. Again, there's no double entry by a manager. A manager doesn't have to recreate a management report from all the work they did that month. They can rely on their updates being captured in their management report. So we want to complete the workflow now. We've done everything up until track. And what we have to try and achieve, and this is, we want to demonstrate our hard work as managers in the industry. Um, so what resulted, who completed it, and when was it completed? Simple things. In management, you just check a box. I'll show you how that works. But you check a box and now it's permanently attached to that property, the topic, the issue. Okay. It's something that is simple, yet it closes the loop on that issue. So the next manager who comes around can see that this work happened and it got done. Your regional manager can see that this happened and it got finished, and the board can see that as well. It's in a central place, ideally. This is what you want to strive for in your workflow. And the way we accommodate it is with a simple check mark. A check mark next to that activity. When you check it off, it asks you to confirm the completed date and choose if you want to keep it in the management report or not. And it's just one way that we try and make it really easy. You can see in your calendar, everything is green if it's been completed. And this is what it looks like in the management report. The board, this automatically happens. You don't have to cut and paste anything into the completed section. Just by marking it completed, it automatically goes into the completed section. And notice that you have a link to the image that was taken during the issue capture. You can see when it was completed, and it allows everyone to really stay on the same page without having extra, manual reporting time, which is often really difficult for managers to get to, frankly. So zooming out, we've looked at the whole workflow of an inspection, 7 steps in our view. The reason we think these 7 steps work, and we've seen them work in action, is because they address what the pain points are without such a comprehensive workflow. So getting to the inspection report, okay, that's possible, right? It's not uncommon that this is what's been done in the industry a long time. You have a spring walk around inspection report, but the follow through often gets fragmented, and that's a big pain point. When decisions are made but execution isn't tracked, it just doesn't lead to good results and just creates extra work. Leadership loses visibility. Again, leadership means boards, and leadership means management company, back office, and leadership. So do we want to be flying blind between inspections? No, we want to be able to see what the status is of the work. And look, managers lose time to manual reporting, you know, taking raw notes, going back into the office, having to repeat that and send it to a vendor, having to write it again in a management report, all takes a lot of time. And we need to free up time for managers so they can work on the more strategic initiatives and the bigger picture items for their clients. A little bit about Managemate just before we get to Q&A. Inspections are just one part of what we do. This slide just shows that we are a central workspace for managers, boards, and their head office. Inspections just are included in our package, and it's part of tracking work generally. Again, we do board meeting packages and manager report generation. You can get approvals and have questions from boards and answer them in Management on topic. On topic is key, and we can give boards and managers quick access and retrieval of their property history, again, on topic. What we're offering to attendees is a complimentary call. I'm a bit of a process geek, and I like to workflow things out, as you might talk to some of our clients. And we're offering to just listen to your current workflows and help you identify and talk together about what the gaps are. And if Managemate is a good fit, great. If not, that's okay. I think that still adds value. So after this call, we will be circulating a link via email and to everyone with a link where you can schedule a call with us. It's complimentary. We will also be posting this on YouTube, this video, along with the slides. We can share those via that email I mentioned as well. But I want to turn it over to Q&A now. I have not been monitoring the Q&A, Jay. I'm going to ask you maybe
Yes,
to, yeah.
we have a couple questions. Like the first one is from John Fink. He asked, are tags predetermined for consistency and trackability or ad hoc?
Great question. So we start off every account in Managemate with four categories of tags: general tags, asset tags, common element tags, and unit tags. So we, during our onboarding, will get a list of the units from the condo or the management company for all their condos, and we add those to Managemate. We start every account off with about 50 plus general tags, things like quote, things like reserve fund study, the things that you would normally choose from. And we, during onboarding, we do something called file migration, where we take your history and we organize it in your account. And through that process, we build an asset list and a common element list. Now, as the client, when you log in, board member, manager, management company professional, you can edit the tags, you can add tags, you can work with them. And so there's flexibility there on your tags going forward. And I'll just finish that question by mentioning we can create custom categories of tags. Categories we've seen clients ask us for are GL codes and violations or compliance issues, so noise violation, etc. These are in larger properties that are more leased and not owner occupied. A great question.
Okay. The next one is also from John. Are report changes, revisions stackable?
Are they, sorry,
Like if we can trace the revisions for our inspection report?
um, yeah, that's interesting. So yes, because we have a full audit trail in the software. We call it a change log, but it's effectively an audit trail. So every change that's made to an issue or a task or even a picture that was taken, you star it, you unstar it. That's tracked, and you can see that in your account by clicking on the change log. And so we do that to make sure that there's no bad behavior. And we do that to allow someone to get caught up on a record that they might not have been watching for a little while. And so they can see the history of changes made or revert in case there was a mistake made.
Okay. Also, Sunny asked, is it compliant to go back into in a change a record of inspection? So I believe this goes with the change log, right? So
Yeah, like is it compliant to go back and change? Or
yes.
yeah, you know, I think as long as it's not hidden, the fact that something was updated. When we generate our reports, the date of that the report is generated is listed. It's not changed, like it's not editable. That's not something the user enters. And so if I generate a report on April 27th and on April 30th, I generate another report, the timestamp is there April 30th. And so, someone will know that, well, this wasn't the original report because the date stamp would be different if they got that in an email or they went into management to find it. Yeah.
Okay. John asked if he can build a database of all his assets and track historical maintenance, repair, replacement actions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So I didn't mention this, but our tag feature was built specifically to give managers and boards a timeline, both past and future, on that topic. And so a topic, again, is an asset, a common element, a type of record. And so you click on elevator number one, let's say, you will see the maintenance history of that elevator to the extent it was tracked in Managemate, and you will see anything added into the future. For example, warranty expiration dates. And you'll get reminders for those things as well. So we show it on a sidebar. It's a timeline. It's literally a vertical timeline with the years separated, and you can scroll and look at and schedule things and reminders if you need to on your assets, on your common elements, and on any other tag you create. It's a very powerful, user-friendly, I'd say, asset management tool. And that's what the tag feature has enabled.
Okay. Our last question, also from John. Can we bypass Spark Pay and send the information to the property management company directly?
Yeah, yeah. We would probably do that, with a workaround right now. Basically, the way our SparkPay integration works is we just enter a client's SparkPay endpoint email address into their account. We do that in the back end. And so we could enter any other email address in there or separate it with commas so that the information can go to whomever you need it to go to. And we are actually advancing an update on that send request feature where we will generate a more user-friendly synopsis of the issue and the request. And you can edit it right there in Managemate if you need to, and you can add recipients, meaning other people in the to line. And so, yeah, absolutely, we can accommodate that workflow.
Okay. We have a couple of questions yet here. Another from John. Can you add historical repair information retroactively? Like all
Oh
data
yeah,
not
yeah.
previously documented. Yes, like,
We, and we specialize in this at Managemate. We have a process by which we request file history from a client. So these are your files and folders of records, and we basically migrate that into Managemate. So what does that mean? For example, if there was a work order on an HVAC issue, maybe a mechanical issue, say a boiler, okay? We would see that work order. We would identify the vendor that that work order was, performed by. We would capture that vendor's information. We'd capture the date of the work. We would capture the fact that this work pertained to, sorry, did I say boiler? Boiler, and that would then make its way into the asset history of that boiler. And you'd be able to do a full text search of any word in that work order because we index all data that clients provide or upload in a secure way so that you can do full text search. And when you search in Managemate, it's contextual, so you can pull up things based on the keywords you enter. And we use a little bit of AI to just make sure you narrow in on what you're actually looking for with those keywords you enter. So the answer is yes, yeah.
okay. Another question now from John Russell. Is there integration with the fire safety checklist? Then the manager can see in real time as the building staff complete the fire safety checks daily, weekly, etc.
We're talking to a vendor that does inspections, not on the fire safety side, but I'm interested as well on the fire safety angle. And, you know, we would like to accommodate the professionals who perform the inspections to use a issue capture tool like ours or one day ours, if we can make that happen, so that it's automatically loaded into your account. And we know that the fire safety inspections are done by fire safety professionals, not managers necessarily. Depends on maybe what your fire safety plan says. I think managers can do some items in your fire safety plan and probably should be, monthly, quarterly, etc. But for some of those things, you need a fire safety professional to be doing it. So currently, we'd have to see the specific workflow and use case, but we want to definitely be able to accommodate that more broadly.
Okay. One more question from Ingrid. She adds that this software seems geared for use by condominium manager. Then she asks, how does this work for a condo board?
You know what? It's a great question. So we actually originally built this for condo boards, and we've stayed true to that in the sense that as much as we provide a lot of value for managers now, because what we learned is that the board wants the information in the system, and they need the managers to enter it. So we've, as a company, really focused on making sure that um, the value is there for the manager, so they enter the information where a board has a manager and the board can get it. But it's a completely equal and balanced system. Everything a manager can do in Management, a board can do. And we stay true to that, and we don't gatekeep features unless the management company buys the account, and then they can decide what features the boards get. But normal accounts, or if the board wants full access, absolutely, the board can do everything the manager does. So, you know, self-managed condos or where maybe you might have a more involved board. They might be working with the engineer on a reserve fund project or the designer for the lobby, or they might find things around the property. They can use the issue capture panel. They can assign things to their manager if they have one or not, if they don't. But it's a very balanced system for both boards and managers.
Okay, that was the last question, Celine.
Yeah. All right. Well, we have 3 minutes to spare. And again, I just want to thank everyone for joining. I'll send the materials we promised, and we'll let you know once this is available on YouTube as well. But apologies for the technical issues at the beginning, but thank you for joining, everyone. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone.